What's good, family? Smash the like button and subscribe. Wow. So, if you man haven't heard already, I'm sure you've seen this title, but I can now gladly announce your man's Dillian Down Bad White is set to fight another super duper stiff. Wow. This is shocking. Now, listen, I can't lie to you, man. If you watch my last few videos on Dillian, me and him ain't been seen eye to eye for a little while now. Why? Mainly it comes back to the whole WBC situation. We're waiting as fans, we're waiting for someone to get their nuts out and hold the WBC accountable. Because from where we're sitting, it looks like you're all just having one big MTK circle jerk, in my opinion. I believe they're all paid off, personally speaking. Because not one man yet has called anything out. Not Fury, not WBC, no one. And when I say call out, I don't mean going on IFL TV and just talking. Stay talk, because we've heard Dillian might be talking. Talking was cool 3 years ago. At some point, let's not make out. I wouldn't mind you. Some fighters are broke, and you can't do nothing if you're broke. But Dillian, the fans have blessed him with millions of dollars, and in future terms, he's got millions of dollars to come. Plus, what the fans believe, or there must be some argument he has a legal case. Even so, scrap it. Why aren't you putting the money up and doing something in court? It's not that expensive. It's not that expensive. Crack on. Stop talking. Get stuck in. But they don't. Stay talking and moaning and trying to leverage the fans and trying to play a narrative with the fans. Meanwhile, behind closed doors, they're all laughing together. That's my opinion, from what I've heard, from what I've seen. Because there ain't no action going on. Dillian White been saying for the longest, oh man, yeah? He been saying for the longest, this ain't right, that ain't right, but he don't do nothing. Oh, we're talking with lawyers. What do you mean you're talking with lawyers? Have you dropped a case or not? Innit? Have you got a case? Have you dropped it? Where's the case at? Don't worry about talking. Oh, we're talking to lawyers. What do you mean talking to lawyers? Where is the case? What's there to talk to lawyers about? I don't get that, do you? There should be a case dropped. And what frustrates me is, what do we know? When Andy Ruiz was playing around, when Andy Ruiz beat AJ, yeah, and he was playing around, trying to be super duper fruity, trying to make the Deontay Wilder rematch, trying to make Ruiz versus Wilder back in June 2019. Within weeks, Eddie Hearn had a case dropped. Not dropped, he had a case initiated. And the situation was fixed. Now, I do understand it's slightly different because Andy Ruiz was contractually bound. But either way, my point is, it don't take years to get a case filed. What are we doing here? And even if you lost the case, well, yeah, you may have lost, I don't know, 50, 100 grand, or however much. But from the fans' point of view, you're going to get it back. The publicity of doing that, Dillian White versus WBC, the publicity of that is going to keep you more relevant than, guess what? Going to keep you more relevant than Dillian White versus Chris Pomiola. Wow. Do you understand? I'm telling you now. A Dillian White court case versus WBC is going to be 10 times more marketable than seriously, who wants to see Dillian fight Chris Arreola? Apart from sporting icons. Yeah? Apart from sporting shilicons, who wants to see Dillian White versus Chris Arreola? Ain't no one trying to watch that. That's the truth. I mean, not being funny. Arreola, yeah. I think Arreola did well against Andy Ruiz, but why not make the Andy Ruiz fight? Why not do Andy Ruiz versus Dillian White? That's a fight I'd watch. I'm telling you now. Well, I'll probably do a reaction to it for some views, but apart from that, I ain't got no interest in the Arreola fight whatsoever. And the fact they're going to put it on pay-per-view is just a shocker. If that's on pay-per-view, we are being milked, and Dillian White is part of the milking. I want you, man, we all must agree on this now. If Dillian White puts the Arreola fight on pay-per-view, we all have to, in my opinion, that'll be the That'll be the final act where I'll know Dillian White's in on this game. Because he ain't doing nothing with the WBC, but he's happy to sell us a pay-per-view with Chris Arreola. But you don't want to invest any of that money to get in some real justice for yourself and the fans. Nah, that can't work. I'm sorry. It's best be on Freeview. Super duper free, this fight best be. That's not a pay-per-view fight. I'm not being funny. Andy Ruiz versus Dillian White is barely pay-per-view. If you think about true pay-per-view. Yeah? Why is it? Dillian always... I guess you could... Oh, well... I mean, he fought Rivas, but... I don't know, do you, man, really rate these dudes? Rivas and Povetkin, I don't know. I just don't feel them. I'm not blaming Dillian, because in this day and age, the current crop is super weak. But I look around and I see people like Dubois, Joe Joyce, and I guess they are high-risk fights, that's why. God forbid we had some competitiveness in boxing. Do you know what I'm saying? I'm sitting there saying, well, you know, Dillian White, who claims and believes he's the best heavyweight in the world, God forbid he actually fights some of the best fights. This is how we've been conditioned as fans, yeah? I'm moaning about Dillian White versus Chris Arreola, and then I'm about to propose other options, and I'm actually talking myself out of it. I'm sitting there saying, well, what about Dillian White versus Dubois, or Dillian White versus Joe Joyce? And then I end up saying, well, you know, they'll be tough fights, so maybe... Wait a minute. I had to stop myself. Wait a minute. That's how the sport's meant to... That's how it's meant to be, is it not? It's not supposed to be, well, you know... There's not massive money in the Joe Joyce fight, or massive money in Danny Dubois fight, so, you know, maybe he should... That fight can't happen at the moment. What? Why am I thinking like that? It should be, bottom line, Dillian, you sit there gassing the blame. Don't get me wrong. I'm not blaming Dillian. They all do it. They all sit there gassing about they're the best. And how they're the can man. If you're really the can man, and you're really the best, Chris Arreola ain't it. There's Joe Joyce. There's Dubois. And I'm not a massive boxing guy. I don't know a whole bag of names, but I can give you a few. 10 times better than the Arreola fight. Andy Ruiz, Joyce, Dubois, who else is there? Any decent fighter. Well, you can sit there and say, you know what, man? And I give Dillian his credit. The Joseph Parker fight, at that time, that was one of them fights. Where you could sit there and say, yeah, man, Dillian versus that cat is a decent fight. But that was the only reason it happened was because of the finances. Because Joseph Parker had got turned out by Anthony Joshua. So he had a big name in the UK. That's the only reason that happened. So what are we saying now? Boxing only happens when the numbers are there, which is what it's been for a while. It's just a sad state, and that's why I'm doing this video. Dillian White versus another bum. Super bum. That's what this is. Because again, I'm looking around here, and I actually like Dillian to an extent. The more I talk about it, I don't. But when you look around and you start seeing things like, who's he really been fighting? Really? And he moans about, oh yeah, I can't get no big fights. Well, you turned down the AJ fight. It's a fact. Yes, you couldn't get the Fury fight. Yes, you couldn't get the Wilder fight. But I hate to break it to you, Dillian. No one can get them fights. I was about to say, well, what? Wilder and Fury only want to fight each other. And even then, half of the time, they won't even do that. So, no one's getting the Fury fight. No one's getting the Wilder fight. So, you have to kind of discount that. They're not in circulation. So what do? Just sit there waiting and getting old? Because what has Dillian really done? I'm sorry. I hate to break it to you, man, yeah? Povetkin ain't it. 2 fights with Povetkin, that's not it, I'm sorry. Povetkin would have got smoked by Joyce, Dubois, whoever you want. Whoever you want would have had a go on Povetkin. Apart from David Price, and even David Price, even the chinless plumber, he had a good go. Yeah? Povetkin's an old nag. He's finished. No disrespect, but it's the truth. Since when? I don't know. It's crazy how boxing's changed. Since when is a 40-year-old man in circulation? Lennox Lewis retired at like 38, and people saw him as absolutely washed at that age. These days, 40-year-old men, people are cracking on. These days, you've got super athletes like AJ going in there with 40-year-old Pulev, and I've got goofies telling me that, YB, the reason AJ be taking out 10 rounds is because he in there with the top competition. What? Lennox Lewis, who's a Hall of Famer, he was perceived to be washed at 38. And he was a super athlete himself. And you've got goofy dudes who was average anyway, Pulev at 40-year-old. People justifying to me how these super athletes need to be taken all day with them. Get out of it. You know what you're talking about, goofy. Back to Dillian White. Same principle though. Povetkin, why was he even on the chopping block? Oh, I'm the cameraman, and I got no problem with you talking big talk. You fought 40-year-old Povetkin. Wow, and you got murked as well to add insult to injury. You got murked by a dude who didn't know and want to see you fight. If you're in circulation, you should be having circulation fights, in my opinion, to people who are banging around now. But I guess you can argue, well, why would he want to fight Joe Joyce or Daniel Dubois or whoever if it's going to be less money? I just don't know what to say about that. I just don't know what to say. It's why, the more I think about it, people complain about the UFC, and I do believe the UFC should be sharing a higher percentage of their revenue. No one needs to be that tight. Not even the NFL and the NBA, who arguably run cabals. They don't even... UFC is literally the tightest organ. I think the UFC shares about, 11% of their revenue, whereas NFL and NBA is like 23%. So it's twice as much. There's no reason. If anything, I think there should be a law, really. 25, whatever it is, a set percent should be the minimum. So the UFC's gone too far the other way, but boxing is at the other end of the scale. Boxing's just a complete joke now. Boxing is literally all about the money, whereas UFC, have to say, it's all about the fights. Because UFC fighters, for example, UFC fighters today, yeah, are begging to fight people like Joe Joyce and Daniel Dubois. Why? Because there's only one belt, and they know, wait a minute, if Joe Joyce is number 4, and I'm number 6, I'll best take that dude out. It's not a case of, well, there's 4 belts, so if I lay low and hang around and wait till he gets beat and fight this old man, and it's crazy. Or from Dillian White's case, he might be number 1 ranked, and he's just, because there's so many belts, he's just able to sit there and wait. He's just stay waiting and hiding. Whereas if you're in the UFC and you're number 2 ranked, guess what? You're going in there with a number 4, which in boxing's case would be the Joe Joyce, would be the Daniel Dubois, would be the whoever. But boxing is so diluted with all the belts and all the corruption. Dillian White is able to be a number 1 contender and somehow fight Chris Arreola. That's acceptable. And I like Chris Arreola. I think he should have had a rematch with Andy Ruiz, to be honest. It's not about Chris Arreola. But even there, here's another one. I've just realised. I believe Chris Arreola had a draw against Andy Ruiz. I wanted that rematch, but Chris Arreola's 40-odd years old. What's going on here? Dillian, I'm sorry, what frustrates me about Dillian is he loves to get on there and say, I can't do the voice, but if I could, I'd love to do it, but I can't do the voice, I can't think of how to do it, but yeah, Dillian White does his voice, and he says, I'm the can man, and I'm a road man, and I love to get stuck in, and you love getting in there with old dons. That's the truth. Yeah? Don't get me wrong. You can do all the videos you want and take all the pictures you want with sporting silicons. Yeah? You can do all the videos. You can pay for all the promo from the sporting icons. But it's not going to change the facts. The facts are you be fighting old people, old men. Even Rivas was old. Rivas was old. Povetkin was old. Arreola is old. It's bad. You should be saying, UFC style, I'm number 2 ranked. Because Dana White wouldn't have this. Dana White would say, Dillian, you're in there with Joe Joyce, crack on. Or you can just keep dropping down. And before you know it, you're in there with some real scrappers. You're in there with all the hungry lions. You best take the... And that's what I mean. People in the UFC are begging for that 200 grand fight. Joe Joyce versus Dillian White would be a relatively big fight. It's not going to be AJ money, but I think that's what's happened with boxing. People have got too used to this AJ money. Or the DAZN money. Or the... Talked about it the other day, but Teofimo Lopez. This goofy dude, don't no one know him. And people are paying him $7 million for a mandatory defence. I can't even blame these fighters for fighting bums. I'd do it too, probably. Why am I going to fight Devin Haney for 10 million when I can fight a bum for 7? The sport's gone mad. And it's down bad. Too much corruption. Too much money. We need a recession in boxing. I hate to say it, we do. And one's coming for sure. When AJ goes, it's going to be all over, in my opinion. For a while. It's a shame it's going to take that to get some get back for the fans. Because this right now ain't it. Dillian White versus Areola. Wow. And the way Eddie Hearn talks about it, like it's a proper red hot fight. Wow. Oh yeah, okay. And the way, what gets me, we know Coogan says that Dillian White's his best friend. And the way Eddie Hearn and Coogan gas it. Oh, you won't guess what I've got. We've got no word of a lie. What was it? Yeah. Sky Sports have got their boxer promotion, yeah? And the boxer promotion are putting a fight on. Sky Sports promotion, because we know Eddie Hearn and Sky Sports are separated now. Sky Sports are putting on a fight in October, yeah? Check this. Eddie Hearn comes along and says, oh, yeah, I heard that Sky are putting a promotion on in October, but I just wanted to let you man know that Dillian White's fighting in October. So, yeah. So, just in case any of you guys are going to buy the boxer fight, you need to know that Dillian White's going to be fighting. He's going to be fighting Chris Areola, so you better, yeah? I just wanted to make sure so none of you guys bought the boxer fight and you missed a cracker. Yeah? So if we thought you better drop that bombshell in there so that... I kid you not. That's how he was gassing it. He was gassing it, yeah, like it was some nugget. What, really, Eddie? What you mean in October we've got Dillian versus Chris Areola? Get out. We best ring Dana White and make sure he ain't got no fights on, because if you're telling me you've got Dillian White versus Chris Areola, sports globally need to check their schedule and you know what I'm saying? What we know about sports promotion is when there's big sporting events on, like the World Cup or the Olympics, people at sporting events avoid them weekends. Well, let me tell you this: Eddie Hearn, Dillian White, and Chris Areola. Yeah, the Olympics and World Cup ain't got SHIT on that. Yeah? So in a way, we have to give thanks to Eddie, because Eddie was right. That is shit hot, that event. Thanks, Eddie, for letting us know to make sure our calendar's wide open for that date in October. Because you best believe us fans are rock hard for that. Thanks, Eddie. Thanks, Dillian. Can't wait. Give us more of that one. Yeah? I wonder who else you can drag out of the grave. Maybe you can put that one on for March, Eddie, yeah? I'll tell you what to do, Eddie. Give us Areola in October, and if we play our cards right, please give us someone else you've dragged out of the grave for March. That'll be amazing. That'll make my year. Wow.